And whenever we see anything from the Kraken or whenever we bring up the Kraken, with the exception of a great, fun Joey Decord video, it's usually, this isn't going great so far. Capo Caco signed a 3-year extension as an RFA with the Seattle Kraken. And that's important to me because I read all of that, I formulated it, and I thought Seattle Kraken bridge Capo Caco is the least interesting sentence in hockey history, and it's not the Kraken's fault, and it's not Capo Caco's fault.
Ooh, it's kind of the Kraken's fault.
It might be, but it was a sledgehammer onto this silly head of mine that said the Kraken have an interesting problem, and we've kind of known about it. And whenever we see anything from the Kraken or whenever we bring up the Kraken, with the exception of a great, fun Joey Decord video, it's usually, this isn't going great so far. So let's check in on where they are, and let's try to make the Seattle Kraken just a little interesting, because it's been a tough go so far, Pete. No,
it definitely has. I mean, they had their inaugural season, which had a lot of interest, obviously. They weren't a very good team, finished 8th in the Pacific. But then they had their second year, and that's the year they made the playoffs. And they beat the Avalanche in the first round. And you were like, oh, shit, okay, here. They've arrived on the scene. And they sort of had that Golden Knights to them where they were like, oh, here we go. Expansion team, good in their second year. This is like a cheat code. They have not been interesting since. And when I say they have not been interesting, they have been deeply uninteresting and not very watchable since. Over the last 2 seasons, if we were putting together watchability rankings, just very, very close to the bottom of the league.
Okay, some of the stuff you hit there, and specifically that 2022-2023 season will be a big part of this conversation, because that seems like it was an outlier that has forced the team to kind of chase something that we're pretty sure actually wasn't ever there. But let me give you a little rundown. So they're obviously new team. They've had 4 seasons, strong fan base. I'll get to that in a second. A great personality player in Joey Decord, but they seem just kind of stuck in the middle. They're on their 3rd coach in 3 years with Lane Lambert. They're in a super difficult division that only has, I would say, in addition to the teams that are just locked in and we know the teams they're chasing, at least 2 teams in Anaheim and San Jose that are clearly on the ascent. One clear positive, they got a good broadcast.
Definitely.
And also Bowie is cute.
Their broadcast is one of the top 5 best broadcasts in the NHL.
Forsland and Eddie O is that is a supreme, that is money well spent. Let's hit, though, the experiment so far. Seattle entering its 5th season. I'm going to throw some stuff at you that you already know, but when you hear it, I think will blow your mind. Through 4 years, they've made the playoffs once, a wild card spot, and won 1 playoff series. In the Golden Knights' first 4 years, they made the playoffs every year and won 6 playoff series. Further to that, the Kraken's second best finish points-wise, 81 in 2023-24, would be the worst season in the Golden Knights' 8-year history. So not only are they not close to the success the Golden Knights have had, their best is very, very close to the Golden Knights' worst. So just 2 opposite results on the expansion front.
In the sake of fairness for this discussion, though, it is worth pointing out that a lot of the mistakes that were made in the expansion draft that happened when the Golden Knights did it, and they took advantage of a lot of other teams, those teams were killed for years based off of how they handled that expansion draft. And I think that they were very, very careful not to make the same mistakes again. And so they weren't very aggressive when it came to the expansion draft with the Seattle Kraken. So they kind of just had to follow the sort of paint by numbers route in that expansion draft.
Yeah, totally. And teams, I think, realized from one of the biggest things from that expansion draft, Vegas versus Seattle is the teams were so worried of losing the guy they didn't want to lose that
They
they
gave up
gave
better
the Golden
guys.
Knights shit. And in a lot of cases, it ended up being amazing. I mean, the big one, I can't off the top of my head, the Panthers paid the Golden Knights Riley Smith to take Jonathan Marchessault.
Yeah, basically they were like, do not. I forget who they didn't want them to
Yeah,
take.
this is
But
yeah.
they said like, here's Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault instead of this one player that they were trying to protect.
Yeah, and the Golden Knights just took all of those deals, which they should have, because they were swinging over the fences and everything really connected. Obviously, you're right. Teams were a bit more experienced with a modern expansion draft, so they knew to do better. So it was a tougher start for them. But let's discuss the one-year outlier. Kraken victims of a 2022-23 season in which they had 100 points in the regular season, got the first wild card, beat the Avalanche in 7 games, took the Stars to 7 games. And that was a really exciting time for the Kraken. And the story of that season is basically they just scored a lot. They were not a great team, but they scored a lot. And I didn't even care that they weren't a great team. I was excited about the Kraken. And Jared McCann had a 40-goal season. A lot of guys were scoring more goals. A lot of guys were overperforming. And from there, they missed the playoffs the next year, fire their coach, spend a lot of money in free agency, 7-year deals to Brandon Montour, and Chandler Stevenson. So, like, they're trying. They're spending. They're trying. Part of that, obviously, was changing the coach and bringing in Dan Bilesma, who brought in a whole new coaching staff, and Jessica Campbell was part of that. And that was kind of the most exciting the Kraken have been in a while. And they're just not. That season was an outlier. Like they were trying to build off of a thing that was kind of a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this question: Have the Seattle Kraken ever had a star player?
That's another big pillar part of this. I'll jump to it now. Like, is it as simple as they need a superstar? Because my favorite metric is guys. And the Kraken do have a good roster. And they have guys. And they are trying. They signed those 2 guys last year. They traded for Mason Marchment, which I thought was a stealth, nice little move. They have good players. Jared McCann, Matty Beniers, Shane Wright had a breakout year. Brandon Montour is a good player. Chandler Stevenson is in the NHL. Adam Larson is a good player. Jamie Alexiak, Vince Dunn, like not amazing players. They signed Ryan Lindgren, who I think is just like a quintessential Seattle Kraken type of player where like, yeah, I think he's good, but my friends don't really care about him sort of thing. They don't have bad players, man, but they don't have a super interesting roster.
No, I mean, so they have a lot of like middle of the roster players, but they have no top of the roster players. Like Matty Beniers needs to be a star for them. He has been their number 1 center basically since he entered the league. And like he had that great rookie year and has not really popped since. They don't have any other players on their team that I would classify as top of the roster players.
What about Shane Wright?
Not yet.
Definitely not yet. But like
Maybe.
Shane Wright can get there. Jake O'Brien can get there. They drafted Berkeley Catton 8th overall last year. So like maybe they do have guys who will be stars. But I agree with you. They don't have any superstars, and they probably would you say like Jared McCann like star-ish? Matty Beniers star-ish?
Star potential, but like you can't even really say star-ish because when has he showed it outside of his rookie year, really? Like he has really not been a headline grabber or a real I don't think that they have star players. I hope that Matty Beniers can be. Joey Daccord is like a top half of the league goalie. But
Yeah.
does that constitute as a star player?
No,
Probably not.
probably not. So is it as simple as they need a superstar? Like I definitely think that would help. And they've got cap space. They've got $6.6 million in cap space. They've got 2 first-round picks each of the next 2 years. I mentioned Jake O'Brien. I mentioned Berkeley Catton. They've got stud prospects. If there were to be a trade in this, there will be trades off season where there have not been trades. If somebody did become available, this would be the team. And I mean, like I said, like they pounced on Mason Marchment and they extended themselves big time in free agency last year. Like they are
But not
trying.
like
I don't.
but not smartly so. Like I think that we did our free agency show last year and we had the agreement. Like the Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour contracts were kind of weird on day one. Like Montour I got.
I like Montour.
Chandler Stevenson was a real overpay. So
And
like just because they're spending money and throwing it at guys who aren't like the right guys, like yeah, I guess like you can give them credit for trying, but it's also like that's a layer of ineptitude.
oh yeah. I mean, they're not doing a good job, but
Yeah, right.
but they're trying. I'll also say I did a little journalistic stuff today. I went undercover as a prospective season ticket buyer, and I didn't see any wait list. They did have a wait list whenever there's an expansion
Yeah, oh yeah.
franchise, there's like a wait list and everyone's all jazzed. I was clicking around and I was like, I think they'd give me season tickets right now.
I think I remember hearing
Although
not
they do sell well. Their attendance is great.
yeah, but I do remember hearing not last season, the season before, like the season that we started this show. I remember hearing that they felt a real pressure to turn things around and ice a competitive hockey team because fans were starting to lose interest in like the shiny new toy that was gaining a little bit of luster. And like that probably helps explain why they threw some of that money at Chandler Stevenson and Brandon Montour in free agency. But I think that toy is gaining quite a bit of rust, and they're at risk of losing some fans that they're not going to get back for a little while.
So then what do they do? I mean, do you know that no one has signed a there's only been one max contract in the NHL. You know who it was?
No.
Brad Richards with the Rangers. And the Rangers bought it out. And we just kind of take it as a given that players aren't going to take the max because there's a cap and they want to save space for the rest of the team or whatever. But if, God forbid, one of these guys, if Eichel or McDavid hits free agency next year, are they just, this team has been trying.
You haven't said the magic words yet either.
Yeah, no state income tax.
Oh, duh. Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to was going to make a section that was comparing them to other no state income tax teams, but we're being harsh enough on them. We're not being harsh on them, I'll say. We're just kind of
It's a fair and
explaining the
accurate
state of
read.
affairs.
Yeah.
And like this is bringing me no joy. I'm finding the Kraken quite interesting as we discuss like how can they get good? They just have such an uphill climb, man. Like they're not touching the Knights. They're not touching the Oilers. Say what you want about the Kings. Like typically teams that were kind of locks for the playoffs, at least one will fall out the next year. But do you think that they could push for a playoff spot this year, the Kraken?
I would be very surprised.
They'd be a big
Especially
surprise team.
in that conference and that division. Like this team finished below the Anaheim Ducks last year.
Yeah, and the Ducks are going to be better. The Ducks are absolutely going to be better.
Definitely.
Sharks are going to be better, but I mean, they're going to trade Celebrini at the deadline because he's over 18 and 1 day years old. But they don't have to worry about the Sharks right now, I'll say. Like, they're better than the Sharks. Their roster's better than the Sharks. They're going to be better than the Sharks. But, like, Anaheim's going to be better. Calgary could be better. I'm not sure. Vancouver has
Probably
kind
be
of
better.
been left for dead, and I don't know how to feel about that.
No, I
So
mean, Vancouver's one of those teams that, like, we talked about it a little bit last year. Like, almost everything that could have gone wrong for the Vancouver Canucks last year did go wrong. And, like, they were just rattled by instability the entire season, whether it was injuries, whether it was locker room fights, whether it was just general organizational dysfunction. I think that, like, Vancouver could be a bounce back candidate this season.
but not
Not
Seattle.
Seattle. I
Okay,
like
so then
we've talked about the exercise of in preseason ranking how interesting we find all 32 teams. Like, Seattle is maybe bottom 5, maybe bottom
yeah.
3, just like so deeply uninteresting.
And they're too new for it to be like that, which is maybe
Mhm.
why this does kind of, I don't want to keep using the word interesting or interest, but like it does sort of pique my interest that a team this new has already seemingly lost its flavor for a lot of people. I mean, it like the proof is in the pudding. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the team. We watch the team like
Yeah.
when they're on, if they're playing an interesting game. So it's not just like total ignorance.
We
but
saw them fuck up the Edmonton Oilers.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but like the hockey world does not talk about them. And I tweeted, like, we've got a new episode coming out. We're going to discuss a team that no one really talks about a lot, but we'd like to make more interesting. And someone responded right away, like, you're talking about the Kraken. It shouldn't be that obvious.
I know. Yeah, like I think right now, Sean said it before the show, like the Kraken are the new New York Islanders,
Yeah,
which like that might be fair. But when we talked about the New York Islanders, like when people were saying that about the Islanders were a pretty good hockey team. Like they were making the playoffs. They had like a pretty good roster. It's just they weren't interesting to watch, which I disagreed with at points, but like the point still stands. They were pretty good, but not interesting. The Seattle Kraken are not very good and not very interesting, which is a pretty devastating um, category that not a lot of teams in the league fit into. I think there's a lot in one hand interesting, there's a lot in one hand good, and sometimes you combine the two. But there's very few teams that are bad and uninteresting, at least to like us who are this deep in the
Yeah.
weeds.
Another thing I'll say on them, I like them down the middle. They're like, they are not bad down the middle. Shane Wright takes another step forward. Last year was kind of his first like real year in the NHL, and he was good. Matty Beniers, Shane Wright, Chandler Stevenson, and they got Freddie Gaudreau. Like, I don't hate him down the middle. And like Eberle is like half a guy still, and Kako can be better. There's just a lot of in the way that the Capitals became the fun island of misfit toys, like the where's that guy gonna go? Everyone went to the Capitals last year and it all worked out. The Kraken are a lot of where's that guy gonna go? And they go there and you forget about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know what the solution, like, do we spiff up the jerseys? Do they?
No, the jerseys are great. Like,
We want to get them a new arena 4 years in or something?
widely regarded as having one of the coolest arenas in the NHL. I think their branding is awesome. Their jerseys are great. You got one right there. There they are. Both of those are so good. Like, I think their away jersey is awesome. Home jersey's good enough. Like, it's not the branding, man. It's the fact that what it represents is just not that entertaining.
Yeah, man. They need like this team needs a prime Stamkos badly. If they had like one prime Steven Stamkos,
I mean, at this point, I would even give them old man Steven Stamkos. Like, the Predators are going to be trying to get rid of those guys real soon, most likely. Just give them to Seattle. Like, at least that will make them slightly more interesting. And then Nashville can go ahead and blow up whatever the fuck they're doing there, and we can get on with our lives. But fix two problems at once. Just give the Kraken Nashville's guys.
famously, I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but if you are in the camp of people that thinks that maybe the NHL gave the Islanders the first overall draft pick as a response to taking away their All-Star game, if the NHL is seriously worried about the Kraken kind of falling out of favor amongst their local market and not being that interesting, there may or may not be an all-time prospect at the top of next year's draft.
Yeah, but we all know he's going. McKenna's going to Pittsburgh because
fair. That is
like
yeah.
such a
we-
fait accompli.
But like,
we've
go ahead and have
discussed
Keaton Verhoff.
like somebody identified the deeply uninteresting team that DJ was talking about before he even gave one hint about it. If you asked any hockey fan who pays attention right now, like, what is the bleakest team in the league? I think that most of them answer Pittsburgh, right? Like, I don't think there is a close second to bleakest outlook in the NHL behind the Penguins.
We all silly like the mayor.